Welcome to The Pull Bag. Join us as we dig out our latest comics and discuss them with the rotating panel of the GCRN crew. So sit back and enjoy this week's Pull Bag.
Hello and welcome to the Pull Bag, episode 6. I am one of your hosts, TF Joe and Mike, and holy crap, we just talked to you last week. What are you still doing here, JT from Saskaspoon?
I have nowhere to go.
You homeless Canadian person.
Yes. We all live in used coffee boxes.
Oh, you mean Starbucks.
Yes, that too. How's it going, Mike?
Oh, it's going. So we're coming around again to another round of The Superior Spider-Man. As if you fine listeners have heard, episode 4 was Steve and I talking about the Bat books from last month in April, the 18 issues, and episode 5 is where JT talked about Dream Dolls and Bat Nipples and... Oh, wait, that's the wrong podcast.
That is an entirely private conversation. I'll thank you not to release it online. Mike's like, yes, blackmail fuel.
Yes, exactly. So we are going to take a quick break. You're going to hear a quick audio clip, and we'll come back to talk about several issues from the Superior Spider-Man.
I know you're out there, you wall-crawling menace. It is the duty of every New Yorker to report the actions of these masked miscreants. So listen up. As long as J. Jonah Jameson is CEO of Daily Bugle Communications, I won't have to do New York has seen the last of Spider-Man.
And a good morning to you, J. Jonah Loudmouth.
All right, so first up in this Superior episode of the Pull Bag, we have Superior Spider-Man number 5. Thoughts on the cover, JT?
Creepy.
Yeah, what's Spidey doing with a gun?
Well, yeah, I just don't get this cover. You know, clearly Spider-Man's going to use a gun. I mean, it's foreshadowing, kids.
Yeah.
But not a big fan of the cover.
I actually like the cover. I think it's cool. It's better than the number 4 issue cover, not counting the variant. Like I mentioned back in episode 2 of the podcast when we talked about issues 1 through 4.
Yeah.
When we got to issue 4, it was like, it's Massacre, and Spider-Man's holding his hands up like, no, Mr. Massacre, sir, don't shoot me. Oh, God, I hate that cover. I almost wish I would have spent the damn $35 at my local store to get the variant cover, which is just Spider-Man swinging on the page. But this cover, I like this cover. I think it's interesting. I think it's going to draw people into, like, why is Spider-Man using a gun?
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, honestly, the variant cover market has kind of had a resurgence in the last couple of years. Like, a lot of people are, you know, just, it's something that Marvel's getting back into. I mean, DC, just quick aside, for, like, the first issue of their new Justice League of America, famously has 52 different covers for all 52 states.
Well, yeah.
And, you know,
the
it's
math
like,
on that is wrong.
Yeah. But, there are some alternate covers. Like, there's an alternate cover by an artist named Mark Bagley, who he's one of the more notable Spider-Man artists he started in the 90s. And he and Brian Michael Bendis together broke Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's consecutive issue run. Because Lee and Kirby did, like, I think it was like 100 straight issues on, like, Fantastic Four. And Bagley and Bendis did like 106 issues on the original run of Ultimate Spider-Man and the Ultimate Marvel imprint. And I managed to pick up both the regular cover and the Mark Bagley cover, which is basically Superior Spider-Man crawling on some criminals that he's, you know, webbed up, and they all are like, oh, please, God, don't hurt me, look on their face. And
So there was a variant for number 5?
there's actually a few different variants, number 5. My comic shop actually just happened to get the one variant, so I was like, ooh, cool, Bagley, you know. which
Right.
I am prone to buy a variant now and again. I got like this variant cover from Guardians of the Galaxy #1 where Rocket Raccoon is watering a flower pot and Groot's head pops out screaming, "I am Groot." So it's neither here nor there, but I enjoyed this alternate cover at least, which a lot more than the, hey, Spider-Man's just blown a hole through something.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, what did you pay for the variant?
The variant was the same cover price as the regular cover.
Wow. Then my shop really
Well, variant.
extorts people because with the other one, with the number 4 cover,
Mm-hmm.
um, it was a what's that guy's name? Let me look at it really quick. I've got this. I've already got Marvel pulled up. So, view variant covers. The variant cover was it's just damn it. It's just Spidey swinging in and webbing, and I went. It's a Diodato, whoever
Mike
that.
Legato, yeah, no, it's
Okay, right. I went to my shop. They said that we only have one. It's $35, and we base it on what they're selling for on eBay.
oh
And
wow, yeah, that's just
I'm
wow.
thinking that's ridiculous. I love the Great Escape here in Louisville, Kentucky. They're great. They're a great store. I love going up there and talking to them every now and then, and I love getting my comics from them. But I'm sorry, that's just ridiculous. I thought the exact same thing you just said, because it says here on Marvel.com, uh, you know, $3.99. That's what it says. So I figured that going up to the shop it would be $3.99. Apparently, I was wrong.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, every shop does something different. I mean, basing it off of eBay sales, that's their own choice entirely, and obviously they're trying
Well,
to
right, yeah,
gouge. So
but yeah,
that's
yeah.
not cool, man.
Well, I mean, it's all right. It's whatever. But back to issue 5 before we get so far off track.
Us off the beaten track? Are you sure?
More, yeah, I know. More Massacre. Didn't we get rid of this guy?
Well, see what happens. But yeah, I mean, to begin the issue, again, cover, recap. Uh,
Well, I mean, yeah, but I like how they're doing this. I like how like the first page is the Superior Spider-Man. It basically catches you up.
yeah,
I like how they do that on one page in 4 small panels with little like smaller writing under it versus taking say the first actual page of the story and doing it a full spread. So I like that they do that in the very beginning on the first page, and then the second page is obviously where the story for issue 5 comes up. So I
yeah.
do like that.
And I love the fact that Marvel, a few years ago, started doing the recap pages. They tried this in the late '90s after the whole Onslaught, Heroes Reborn, Heroes Return, where the Avengers and the Fantastic Four went off to an alternate world for a year because hey, we're going to try something different. But yeah, no, I enjoy the recaps, especially since it's suppose this is your first issue of Superior Spider-Man. You haven't read the first 4 issues,
Right.
so it catches you up quick, and it hooks you. It's like, why is Doctor Octopus in Spider-Man's body? Okay, and read on. Peter's still there. Massacre, but yeah, like you said, it's a cool thing, and it's better than some other series that try with the recap pages where it's like one shot of a panel and a paragraph of text. So
Yeah. Um, this whole Mocha Cola thing.
it's like, well, we only have this type of cola. Oh, that's too bad. Pulls trigger. And then obviously we're the president of Fizzy Cola.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that it's Nora Winters, who is it's the Lois Lane of Marvel, basically.
Yeah.
And she's dating the Hobgoblin, but more on that later.
Oh boy. On the next page, after we see the whole Mocha Cola Fizzy Cola thing, what I do like is that one small panel where Spidey Ock says it's working, and his whole eyes and face like I like
Oh
how the
yeah,
eyes light up. I thought that was a cool visual, and I like the way that that looks.
yeah. But I mean, before we skip to that, I mean, you gotta should mention how all of a sudden Massacre becomes Batman, and he pops into this lady's apartment, Miranda Pullman, who's the president of Fizzy-Cola that owns Burger Town, and he's like, "I got a deal for you. You know, look at all the negative media you got where you use like Miss America, who's like this golden age Marvel hero, you know, and you're thinking everyone hated you for it. No, what if your company used Hitler?" Which was okay. He's sticking it out there. So, and there's absolutely, I don't think there's any explanation as to why, like the setup of how he's kidnapped the doorman's family to get into the building. I mean, that jives with what's gone with him before. But are we to believe that Massacre has come up with this plot to disgrace Mocha Cola because he prefers Fizzy Cola, based after breaking out of the insane asylum and murdering his doctor? And he's like, "Hey, I'm going to go to the competition and I'm going to help them out massively." It's like makes absolutely no sense.
I know, and this is why I don't like this issue. I wish that something would have happened in issue 4, whether it's Ox Spidey killing him or whether it's, the whole massacre thing could have been done in, well, yeah, it's taken 3 issues, right? Because it started in issue 3, didn't it? Or did it
No,
start in
it started last issue.
Did it? Oh, wow.
But yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's the whole thing. Sorry to interrupt, but I mean, it's like I said last time we were here. It's like I think I like the idea of Massacre, like this guy who doesn't put any more value into human life than a cup of coffee, and all of a sudden he's like ready to like martyr himself or something to like it makes absolutely no sense. You know, you go to the next page where you see Superior Spider-Man working with Uatu Jackson, who is another character they introduced in Amazing Spider-Man when Peter started working in Horizon Labs, who's this kid whose parents are Fantastic Four fan persons,
yes.
so much so that they named their only son after the Watcher, thus ensuring him getting beaten up every day in school.
Oh, jeez.
You know, and then he created this software it's basically it's like kind of an aspect of Big Brother where, you know, the software looks through all sorts of video feeds and facial recognition and everything, and he's basically using it to track down, you know, Massacre. And I even love the one thing where Uatu goes, "I don't like this. It's too much power for one guy." And Spider-Man's like, "I'm no Big Brother. I'm Spider-Man. Think of this as part of a friendly neighborhood watch." And then Ghost Peter is like, "Oy vey, facepalm." He's like, "You're."
See, I like the stuff with Spider-Rock versus Ghost Peter, and the whole interaction with Uatu. I like all that. It's just that I personally don't think that Massacre is a decent enough villain. Like, okay, he's essentially, I he's not as good, but he's essentially a Joker ripoff for Marvel. That's what he is to me. He's a mass murderer who is psychotic.
Yeah.
And I just don't give a shit. I like nothing about his story. Nothing.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, do you know the origin of Massacre? Like, have you looked that back at all in that, or should I just drop it on you?
No, I'm just going off of what I've read currently. I haven't gone back and looked. I'm just giving my impressions as of what he's done here in these books. I haven't gone back and done any research on his character. I'm just talking about how he is now.
Yeah.
And how he is now is, to me, you'll like this. He's a combination of a shitty Joker clone and Mad Stan. Mad Stan from Batman.
I could see that. I could see that.
Wants to blow everything up. Yeah.
Overload Batman, too much information. You know, voiced perfection by Henry Rollins.
Oh yes, most definitely.
You know, but you know, it's okay. So Spider-Man's got the facial recognition program going on. He's like, moving on to my next order of business, and of course, you know, this is the one thing. Like, it's not that I dislike Peter Parker, but the whole idea where he's like, "What? There's no next. You gotta track him down. Chase some leads. Do something." And then you see Spider Rock, or Otto. We can just call him
Yeah.
Otto. Otto goes to his tutor, who's Anna Maria Marconi, who start thinking of the guy who created the radio. And
Yeah.
you see this little person who's his physics tutor for his doctorate, basically. And you go in, and I love the fact that they give her like this really kind of spunky attitude, and then you find out that she's like she's a science chef using physics and science to make food, and all of a sudden Otto's just like, hot damn food.
Yeah.
I have
People might hate me for this, but when I saw this whole story, well, my first thought is Otto's a genius. Why does he need a physics tutor?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
Right.
it's
No.
part of the
I
school
know
thing.
why he's doing it. It's part of the cover. He's trying to fit in as Peter. I get that now.
And
The other
actually,
thing is,
I'm a doctor.
huh? What?
Well, just because the last issue is like, call me doctor. You don't have a doctorate.
Have a doctorate, right?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Um, when I first saw this chick, I'm like, hey, what's Penelope from Wreck-It Ralph doing in here?
Oh God.
I swear to God! Look, okay,
Yeah,
take,
no, I could see it. I could see it. I'm just
take this panel where the one that you're talking about, where Peter's like, oh, come on, Doc. He knocks on the door. She opens the door. If you took where she opens the door and put a side by side with Penelope von whatever, I forget
von
what it is.
Schweetz.
von Schweetz, you take the two of them, put them left to right. I guarantee you they look very similar,
Oh,
just
yeah.
based off this one image.
Yeah, no, I love that. But yeah, I just love the fact that all of a sudden Otto's just like, oh God, food.
Yeah.
And then you see them going through the physics, like through their tutoring, and Otto drops a little science on her about the unstable molecules. And she's so impressed. She's like, look, dessert. You earned it. And even before we go to the next panel, I'm thinking, geez, he's going to get fat. Even Ghost Peter's like, well, I'm eating all those carbs and dessert. I'm going to have an Otto Octavius-sized gut. And it's just, it's the running commentary of Ghost Peter that kind of makes up for some things in this book so far.
Yeah, it is between her like one-liners that she has with Otto and the Ghost Peter commentary. That's what makes the issue for me. But like I said, the rest of it. And then we get a splash page of, like you said earlier, Spidey swinging out and Ghost Peter swinging with him, apparently.
Yeah, then, he's calling the cops for backup and getting the MTA police on site, as it says. And Peter's like, calling cops for I never thought of that. And Peter, he is doing a lot of stuff. Like you said, he is a superior Spider-Man. He's doing a lot of stuff that Peter never considered before. And then it just kind of not to poke holes in, Peter's decades-long career.
Right.
It's just that, why didn't he think of such things before?
Well, it's because of they're two different characters. Obviously, you know that, I know that. Everybody who's listening to this should know that Otto Octavius and Peter Parker are two very different characters. The thing about Peter Parker Spider-Man is that he feels that he wants to do it on his own, get it done. And plus, the other thing is, Peter Parker Spider-Man, everybody in their right hand man didn't like him because J. Jonah was, basically,
Jonah's basically jealous of Spider-Man.
Exactly. Well, the thing with J. Jonah Jameson is that he's always, he might be jealous of Spider-Man, but he's always been up to what happened at the end of Amazing going into Superior, that, he'd always been against Spidey, and now he's all for Spidey and blah, 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 blah. So that's where Peter Parker Spidey and Otto Spidey kind of differ, where Otto is to the point where everybody loves Spider-Man now. nobody really hates outside of villains, but like the populace of New York and the Marvel Universe, everybody loves him. And he has that kind of no nonsense, kind of thing where he has that approach of this doesn't need my attention, this does, this doesn't, oh, the police can handle that, blah, blah, blah. Peter would never do that because Peter, and I think that's the other thing is, even though in Amazing 700, Peter got Otto to realize the great power, great responsibility thing with having him relive Uncle Ben's death,
Mm-hmm.
Otto got it and he understood it, but he's going to put his own spin on it because that wasn't his uncle, that wasn't his father figure. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where Otto isn't going to be the Spider-Man that Peter wanted him to be.
Yeah. No, I get that. It's just, like I said. And then you see when he swings off, the one thing that it bugged me a little bit where, he switches his lenses to look for radio waves and he starts looking for Massacre's additional hostages. It's just going... It almost suggests that he's run into Massacre more than the one time before, but he's only run into Massacre the one time before. So, anyway, but he uses his upgraded gear, his new tech to like find the new hostages in a Mocha-Cola warehouse, which is part of his insidious plan to embarrass and defile Mocha-Cola. Like, it just like the whole plot, it just doesn't make sense. Why is he going out there like this to screw with the Mocha-Cola people? But Peter's like, hurry it up, Otto, gotta save lives. So, Otto frees them. He goes to Grand Central Station, and if the cover to the last issue of Superior Spider-Man piss you off, how he's dressed here. Like, he's got that stupid high collar thing that it's like zipped up right to his nose. And he pulls open his shirt and he's got the Mocha-Cola sweater on with the guns and he's just like, everybody dies now.
Oh, God. You've seen Maverick, right?
Like the Bruce Willis?
No. 1994, Mel Gibson, Maverick.
Sorry, brain fart.
You've seen that film, right?
Many times.
This scene with him with the westernized version of a zipped up mask, reminds me of the bank scene in Maverick where Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, Gibson pulls his mask. That's what it reminded me of.
It's just like,
okay, but that, like, this image here with him and his little getup and the guns and everybody dies, that didn't bother. Like, for me, a cover has to, like, I have to look at a cover and, oh, this is interesting. I want to open this book and read it. And that's why with issue 4, I didn't care. Because it makes it... I'm not saying Spider-Man always has to look, in the brightest of lights as far as spotlighting him on the cover, but that cover just pissed, because it made it look like, ooh, Spidey's afraid of Massacre, because it's just his hands, and then it's anyway.
It's like, no, we're cool, bro, we're cool. Yeah. But and then you go to the next page, it's like, out of the way, move it, why won't you? And it's just, all heard kind of from the outside and the inside, and Massacre's got the doors all wired with explosives, and I don't buy...
Spider-Man, you promised me you'd deal with this. Where the blazes are you?
Yeah, but I mean, the whole idea that it's one guy... I know comics and leap of logic and, suspension of disbelief, but it's Grand Central fucking Station. Pardon my French. How in the hell did Massacre get all the doors wired with explosives?
Yeah, that's a little strange.
So, you go on, and then he's killing cops and wrecking dudes, and Otto crawls in through some of the upper windows, and, he rescues the kid. Massacre tries to kill Spider-Man. And I like how he notes how Spidey didn't show up in his variant Batman costume, like how they were doing for a while there with him working at Horizon Labs, and he's building all these different spider suits, like the bulletproof costume.
Yeah.
And then Otto's just like, okay, I'm taking this dude down. So he leaps in, he takes him out. Oh, and he's like, I'm going to kill my hostages. No, you're not. Rescued him already. He's like, just kind of the look where Massacre is like, clicking on his remote, and he's just got this "what the deuce" look on his face. And then you see some that almost is, I don't think it's ever happened before. Like Spider-Man picks the gun up, pulls the trigger. Spider-Man doesn't use guns.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen, granted, I just started reading Spidey comics at the end of ASM's run, but in every form of media, I have never seen, whether it's cartoons, whether it's the movies, whatever, I've never seen Spider-Man use a gun. However, I don't think he has, I don't know, I could be wrong, and you can correct me here. His aversion to guns, I don't think, is as strong as Batman's.
Oh yeah.
Like Batman will like the only time I've ever seen Batman use a gun was in Batman Beyond Rebirth when Bruce was too old to act. Like that was his absolute last resort.
Yeah.
You know, so but it's one of those things where to me personally, Spidey's no gun rule has never like to, and again, I haven't read all 700 issues of ASM. I haven't read all the other books, so I'm just going off of what I know from like cartoons and movies and what I'm currently reading here in the books, where it's like it's not so clearly defined, and because this is technically a new Spider-Man, he's going to do different things. He's going to do stuff that Peter would have never done because Peter, no pun intended here, couldn't pull the trigger and get the job done.
Well, yeah, and I mean, Peter's there. I mean, certainly he's used laser cannons and various other villainous weapons before. And it's even Doc Ock. Like, Otto has never really used guns. He's used, like, giant mechanical death machines and, you know, uber death traps. So it was just kind of like, well, Spider-Man doesn't shoot people. He punches them repeatedly in the head. But, and then you see, Massacre crawling for his other gun, and you just like, oh god, that looks like it hurts, where Spider-Man just brings the boot down on his hand.
Yeah.
And he's holding the gun there, and Peter's arguing with him, and, he does like the whole will of the people thing. What do you want me to do? And some crusty old dude is, kill him!
Yeah.
just the look in that old dude's face, he's just like, ah! And he's just like ready to kill it. All of a sudden, because of the getting shot and everything, massacred, because the whole idea, his origin was he was caught in an explosion that killed his wife and damaged his brain in a way that, he can't, distinguish right from wrong, and he can't appreciate the value of a human life. And all of a sudden, he's like, oh my god, he's scared, he's crying, and he can feel something. And Ghost Peter's all like, Otto, we can work with this. We can kill him. There's always hope. And Spider-Man is like, nah, simple solution, pulls the trigger.
Yeah.
And, it goes to the whole crowd reaction. Jonah, Spider-Man's a hero, proud example. Yeah, it's proud example of people just picking up a gun and, ending a life. Good political stance there, Mayor Jameson. And, it goes back to, like, the completely useless character of this president. And you see, like, this was kind of awesome, the way it was an awesome ending, but for a completely useless kind of story almost is, Spider-Man sending his spider bots in, they're crawling all over the place. And he's like, I know what you did. I know where you live.
Yeah.
And that whole thing, that's my power, that's my responsibility to watch over and judge you all. It was kind of creepy the way he did that. It
was very creepy the way he did that.
Well, yeah, but it's, like I said, the whole idea of, like, Massacre breaks out, he goes to what is essentially a Burger King, and he's like, I don't like Pepsi, I would like a Coca-Cola. We don't have Coca-Cola. We're owned by Pepsi. Okay, everybody dies. And then all of a sudden, like, are you telling me this guy, his head is so warped that he's going to walk in, kill all these people, and then engage in some weird, propaganda campaign or something against the Coca-Cola company? Because it made no sense, like, his whole motivation for this. And again, comics, everybody. But still.
Nothing makes sense sometimes.
Exactly.
overall, the story, I liked certain parts of the story. I didn't care for other parts. I love the art. I love what they're doing with Superior Spider-Man. Like I said, the whole image of the program activating in his brain or in his eyes. I like that image. I like, even though I think it's weird as hell seeing Ghost Spidey swing along with him, I do like that kind of compare and contrast between the two. Um, I don't know. Any final thoughts before we move on to issue 6?
Well, we're not going to see Massacre again, and as much as I like the idea of the character, not all that sad to see him go.
Exactly. So we are gonna move on.
Introduction to superheroing isn't exactly a high school elective.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and before we get to the actual issue number 6, after that was released, apparently in Marvel, there's this whole thing of Age of Ultron tie-ins.
Yeah, it's some that Brian Michael Bendis started in the early issues of the event, last volume of Avengers, where they get sucked into this future where Ultrons come and just wreck the planet. And he's finally getting around to, using this. It wasn't just like an alternate future and, hey, we're the Avengers. It's a major thing that's going on in Marvel right now. And
Right.
there's 2 issue 6s. There's the regular, keeping the story going. And then there's this tie-in issue with basically, it's during the crossover. Otto has to sneak into Ultron's headquarters and plant some devices that are going to, basically launch a massive EMP trying to take out Ultron. And it's just how does, Otto deal with this whole, the whole situation sort of thing. And I think a lot of the Marvel comics are just doing these one-shot tie-ins. I mean, ultimately, if you really want to get the whole broad scope of the story, you'd want to look at these. And if you do like Amazing Spider-Man, the characterization of Otto and him dealing with, the whole situation of Ultron taking over the world, it is something I would recommend looking out if you want to get, kind of Otto's take on the whole thing.
I mean, I did read it. I did like it. I actually had to read it 2 or 3 different times to actually I couldn't follow the story that well. Like I get it now after reading it a couple of times, and I like seeing Otto Spidey, kind of being Spider-Man the Avenger. Like, I like seeing that with him being with the team, and I like, obviously that's going to play into the last issue after this, the number 7 issue, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But, like, I just, if I'm, the only example I can think of is when I started comics, it's all Steve Megatron's fault, bastard. The Joker was coming back. And, like, I was, okay, DC, yay. The Joker was coming back. I started with Batman 13. And then I noticed in Batman 13 all the other, like, Nightwing and Batgirl and whatever else. And I started reading those. So, like, for me, if there is going to be a huge event, I have to start at the beginning of the event. And this, to me, the 6AU, it was like, hey, jump in, like right in the middle of it. And I like the art. I had a hard time following the story. The cover is amazing. I love the cover.
Oh yeah, no, it's
the red digital cover.
Yeah,
looks awesome.
Just the whole glow, and I mean a lot of the Age of Ultron tie-ins have that sort of trade dress with like the digital and everything.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I couldn't get into the writing is even though I read Christos Gage's stuff in the Iron Man 3 prequels or preludes leading up to the new movie,
yeah,
because I'm used to Slott's style from reading 698 through, currently Superior Spy, like the style was too different for me.
Yeah,
it's kind of like if you read Batgirl 16, which was written by Gail Simone. And then the next issue is Batgirl 17, when at the time she had been quote-unquote fired, and it was Ray Fawkes, or Fawkes, or F-A-W-K-E, or however you say his name. It was him, like, from 16 to 17 in Batgirl 17 I did not care for whatsoever, because it was such a different writing scale and a different writer's style. And that's why, with this Age of Ultron tie-in, I just couldn't get into it. I'm sure it's a great story for someone who can get into it, but because I was so used to the other style in the main line,
Yeah.
I don't know. So let's talk about the actual number six, which came out before the Age of Ultron thing. I love this cover. The
Yeah.
phone cover or the
Well, the whole, that tagging,
yeah.
which is probably an old school cover. It probably says Menace behind Screwball and Jester, Jester's an old school Daredevil villain who just this criminal
Right.
uses like wacky gags and like, exploding yo-yos and such to, in the course of his crimes. And Screwball's a character that, I believe Dan Slott created her, who she's this, kind of, how Jackass with the whole, real camera thing. Hey, look what I'm doing. She's this parkour artist who's like really athletic and can give Spider-Man a run for his money,
Right.
leaping around buildings and everything. And she's just cracking wise the whole time. She's kind of out to like make a name for herself and, wants to be famous. And she's going to be famous for live casting her crimes and her, public vandalism and all that. So the cover hooked me right away. I really did love the cover by Humberto Ramos, who's quickly in the last few years with all his work on Spider-Man has become one of my favorite Spidey artists. Like, cause he, like you look at it now and it's, back in the day when he first started, I believe he started at Image Comics doing a lot of stuff. He had a very rough sort of style. And,
Right.
and it hasn't, and it's softened somewhat. And I wouldn't say it's softened, but he's refined his skills. He still gets, like one of his trademarks is his women all tend to have these big googly anime eyes, which I kind of dig on because, it separates all the characters because a lot of artists, tend to draw, the sexes the same. Like you look at like guys like Ron Lim, just a quick aside, like the way he draws guys, they all have this very square head and square jaw. And
Mm-hmm.
and the women all have this very, so like a lot of artists will, like I said, they just tend to draw men the same and women the same, at least, in the face visually, never mind the bodies. So, but, they open the book with a bunch of what Twitter feeds about, Screwball and Jester is like, live jexting in 30 seconds from City Hall. And there's, Jameson bitching about the Raft, which is this meta or superhuman prison off the coast of New York. And he's like, blah, blah, blah. I'm the mayor, blah, blah, blah. I'm doing what's best for the city. And then you see Nora Winters and, well, the Jimmy Olsen of Marvel in Phil Urich, who's the nephew of Ben Urich, who's, one of the...
I like that.
well, he is...
That's awesome.
He's become the Jimmy Olsen. He's become the anti-Peter. Because, and in quick aside, when Phil was introduced in the 90s, he was the good Green Goblin in this short-lived series that Marvel put out where he discovered a new enhanced Goblin suit that Norman Osborn created, and he fell into some chemicals and he could use the suit. And then the suit got messed up and he couldn't have his powers anymore. And since then, they've kind of built him up to be like he's got, because of the chemicals, the Goblin juice, it's like anyone who takes this stuff, eventually goes nutso. And he eventually, because Nora starts looking into this Goblin cult that Norman Osborn had created for himself, and he breaks into one of Nora Osborn's old stashes at the same time the original Hobgoblin came back. And then he kills that guy and he takes over as the Hobgoblin. He's working as an enforcer for the Kingpin. And he starts doing what Peter did and selling videos and photos of Spider-Man to the new Daily Bugle since it's been rebuilt, and trying to worm his way into Nora's good graces. And it's kind of, he's a dark reflection of Peter. He's doing, with great power comes great fun, basically.
Yeah.
But he's also psychotic at the same time, so.
That's funny.
And then
Yeah, so you get these, these two.
Jesters, they just decide to come in and basically prank Jameson.
Yeah.
And it's like, pie to the face, pants him. Our work is done. Away!
Oh god.
And then everyone's and their friends are just laughing their asses off. And, Nora's like, did you get any pictures? No. Oh, who cares? It was worth it. And then, mwah, ha, ha, ha. And Peter's watching the video at Horizon, or Otto's watching the video at Horizon, and everyone's like, that is the creepiest laugh ever. And I love how he's like, oh, Jameson, that was priceless. I think I'll watch it on a loop.
Yeah. I like that. I love the way Otto interacts with Jameson.
Yeah, as Peter, Otto's all kind of like, screw you. But as Spider-Man, he's all like...
Ox Spidey is... It's almost as if... I know this isn't it, but it's almost as if it's the symbiote. It's kind of like having the symbiote without actually having it, if you know what I mean. Because Ock's personality is so, like, yes, Peter Parker would, throw, quiet, mom and dad are talking, he would throw stuff around and he would throw quips, but like this, having Otto as Spidey is more so like the dark humor, the insulting humor where he can insult Jameson and make Jameson laugh all at the same time,
Yeah, no, I get that. It's just, it's kind of refreshing to see Otto, relaxing and watching a little YouTube. He's not always an evil prick. But, speaking about his crack wise, like, he gets the summons from Mayor Jameson on the spider phone. I mean, the bat phone. I mean, the way, because you talk about how Otto interacts with Jameson, he's very, well, of course, Mr. Mayor. It's kind of like, of course, Commissioner Gordon. You kind of get that. And I love the one zinger he brought in where it's like, we have another breach, freeze. Excellent reflexes, guys. About 40 minutes late, wouldn't you say? Idiots.
Yeah.
Because, it's not that funny. It's just it's Spider-Man just like, so slow.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And I love how Jameson's secretary, Gloria Grant, who's a character that was originally introduced in the 70s. And of course she had like a female afro back then because it was the 70s, and that's how black people had their hair. But that's neither here nor there. Jameson comes in and he's all like, well, my pal's here. And she's like, your pal? And the way Ramos draws her face, she's like, bullshit.
I know. It's so awesome.
And he's like, no, of course, you may be wondering. You want me to apprehend Screwball and Jester? Yes. Sorry, not worth my time. And all of a sudden, they humiliated me in the office, in public. They pulled down my pants.
Oh my God, it's so great.
Because he wants to say that. It's like, they pantsed me in public. This will not stand.
Yeah.
And it's Spider, Otto might have been, oh, what about the pie to the face? And James says, well, it was delicious.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then we got the Avengers scene. Since when is Wolverine an Avenger?
He's been an Avenger since post-Avengers Dissembled, when Cap reformed the Avengers as the new Avengers in the original Stark Tower. And
okay.
What's cool, and I know this is I'm quoting a review of this issue that I read online. Since when is Wolverine the voice of reason?
I know.
He's like, because I like that. He's like, who here doesn't have blood in their hands? We've all done our fair share of avenging. Blah blah blah. And then he sticks the knife and he's like, and we're going to hold him to a different standard now.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool. I mean, like the characterization of Wolverine, because he knows what it's like to be labeled, something that he isn't.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's kind of the whole point of this issue, honestly, is that we'll get to this in the next panel when we see Penelope. I'm sorry, that's what I'm calling her for the rest of the time we ever see her in these issues. When we get to her scene, all the kids are like, "Oh, where are the other 20 clowns?"
And that's the whole bullying thing. That's just mean.
That's the point of this issue. That it's their stance on bullying, and we see that Otto was bullied as a kid. So I like that's what I like about this issue. The two jesters, they're okay. I see why they're there. I actually prefer them over Massacre.
Well, because
Because
they're actually good characters.
well, they're good characters, but it's more so. It's not just that standard. Oh, hey, let's have a mass murdering psychopath.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing of, hey, let's have interest. Like, Otto. Let's put Otto in a situation where it's so foreign to him to have to deal with.
Yeah.
Yet, something like this would be on Peter's radar every day of the week. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say every day. Peter always to me was, oh yay, another bank robbery. That's to me is what Peter, kind of was.
Yeah. But
that whole thing.
But yeah, when where he swings and I love the comment. He's like, unlike Parker, I can maintain my life as Spider-Man and keep my appointments. We're like, we get it, Otto. You're better than he is. Let's move on.
The one thing I don't like about in this issue is that part of that panel, and we'll see that in. I don't like the way that Spidey is drawn in that because it makes it look like he has webbed feet.
Oh yeah, just where he's swinging in and all that.
It looks freaky as all hell. It looks weird.
Well, yeah, because you look his foot, because all of a sudden he's got like claws for toes or something.
Yeah, it looks too damn strange to me.
But yeah, I like that. You see Anna pull up, Penelope, however you want to call her.
Yeah.
Anna pulls up in her, in her smart car, and she just walks away, and she doesn't really pay those guys any minds, and just the absolutely evil, pissed off look on Otto's face in that last panel. It's like, oh, someone's gonna get a whooping.
Yeah.
And then you go in, and all of a sudden it's like Spider-Man's cruising the internet or cyberspace, because that's like his Otto's whole dreamscape, whatever you want to call it. And then you see him like flash back to this memory of being bullied as a kid, and you see kind of like the dark origin of Dr. Octopus. I'll make you pay for that. I'll find a way to make you all pay. So yeah, bullying creates superheroes, people. Let's not do that. And even for some reason, Peter can't recognize that, Otto's getting bullied, and he's like, are you not? Because I guess he was getting sucked into the recollection, so he didn't see what was going on outside.
Yeah. I do like how they're doing that, though. I know what Slott and the artists that are going to be doing the, issues 8, 9. I see that Dan Slott in his writing is building up to the fact of somehow the two halves of the brain, the Ock half and the Parker half, are going to have some sort of mental duel or something. I can see that happening because he even Ghost Peter says, oh, I'm getting sucked into your brain, and blah, blah, blah. I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that. So I like how that's progressing. I just hope that they don't end up... I've said this before. I like this new direction of Spider-Man. I like seeing someone completely different from Peter Parker. That was actually it makes sense to me that one of his villains is now Spider-Man. That makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. It interests me. I hope to God with whatever Slott is doing, going up to the issue 9 and 10 and whatever else, I hope that they don't find a way to switch it back. I don't want it to I want this to last longer. Because I can see the end result if everybody finds out, and somehow someone, whether it's Kirk Connors or whoever, finds a way to switch them back. We're just going to be back to, hey, it's Peter Parker as Spidey again, and I swear if that happens, I'll stop getting the book because I am really loving this whole new take.
Well, yeah, it's can't last forever, but we'll see what happens when we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, I love the next couple of panels where Otto's like, I could do something about that. I will thrash those ruffians and teach them a lesson. And Anna's like, let it go, dude. I am. She's being the bigger person, which,
Right.
and I'm not saying that to ingest. Like, she's literally being the bigger person. She's not
know.
giving into the bullying.
JT, oh my God, stop! I know what you.
I'm just saying, but yeah, the whole.
Yeah.
I love that. The characterization of Anna there, and then she's like, "Now come along. You got to what do you call it? Apologize to Dr. Schnoz. I mean, Dr. Lamaze."
Yeah.
And I love the fact that it's like.
Hello. Oh, you're breaking up, dude.
The one speech bubble in the last panel where he's like, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm here to apologize. And Otto's like, in his head, is like, oh, what fresh hell is this? I've always loved that. I love that phrase. What fresh hell is this?
Yeah.
Because you see him like he's just roiling on the inside. He's just like, and I love the idea. It's like, I'm beginning to understand what Parker was all about. He beat up people to take out his frustrations on them. Which, certainly plays into it. And then you go on to Screwball and Jester, up the shenanigans again. They're caught by one of the spider cams, and you find out that the whole idea of them pranking Jameson was basically it was thievery. It was electronic thievery. They're using their high-tech goggles to steal credit card information from all the people there.
Yeah.
So
that's not good. You're not supposed to do that.
It's the distraction. The trick is over here while the distraction's over there. So, I mean, it's actually kind of ingenious in a way because, she's getting her Jester and Screwball are getting their videos and getting their hits online, and they're getting paid. So,
yeah,
hey, crime does pay. It might not pay well, but it does pay.
It might not pay for long, considering during the battle between the Jesters and Superior Spidey, he's a little too vicious.
Yeah, and then
go ahead.
No, you go.
He's a little too vicious because you'd think that these are technically, excuse me. These are technically juvenile delinquents, is what they are.
Yeah. Well, what's kind of creepy is Screwball is about Peter, Peter's age, and Jester's, well, probably a few years older. So,
right. But the way that their antics are, it's more. Think of Jack, 40-year-old body, 8-year-old brain. That's one of those things where. Yes, they may be Peter's age or a little bit older, but they're acting like teenagers.
Yeah. No, I get that. It's just... But anyway, I mean, that's really neither here nor there. The next scene kind of sets up, was probably one of the first mistakes that Otto is making, in that he blows off this apology. He's supposed to apologize to Dr. Lamaze and what your thesis is going to be, and Anna's, defending him, and then he gets the alert on his spider app, and he just kind of walks off. He's like, sorry, gotta go, bye. And then, he's thinking, I'll make it up to Anna later, and you can see that Otto has kind of got feelings for her, which,
it's creepy.
It's creepy, and I still think it's kind of cool, the idea that, Otto has met somebody that he kind of respects, so at least and not just in terms of her being smart, just her attitude and all that. And he's like, right. I'll apologize to her later. In the meantime, and you just see that evil smile on his face as he's pulling the mask down. I do have time for one more thing, and I do not like that smile.
Yeah, I can see why he killed Massacre. I get that in issue 5, but I can't see why you would kill these essentially harmless, all of their antics, yes, they stole something, but all of their actual antics were pantsing people and throwing water balloons or whatever.
And pies and all that. Yeah,
that.
They didn't really hurt anybody, and it is only money. But
Yeah.
already Otto's kind of, tightened
Unhinged.
up. Yeah, he's a little, the spring's a little too tight at this point.
Yeah.
At least today. And I love that scene there, sitting there like, who are we gonna, prank next? And we got to keep our fans happy. It's like, okay, how about that guy? Too old, her too ethnic. It'll look all racisty. And then they're like, we got to give it to somebody who's really got it coming to him. And Spider-Man shows up. Hold it right there. You're under arrest. And they're just like, perfect. And then they start live casting. And, I do not advocate violence against women in any way, shape, or form. And you see that one punch that he just gives her that one right hook right to the chest, and she's like, "You totally punched me in the boobs." And he's like, I love Otto's dialogue on Spider-Man. It is so Adam West Batman. He's like, I assure you, I had no intention of, and all of a sudden he gets shot right in the arachnids.
Yeah. I enjoyed issue 6 way more than issue 5. At the same time, there are still problems I have with issue 6.
Yeah.
It's like, I enjoy it for the fact that it's a message against, don't,
bullying.
It's the whole, stop bullying now, stop bullying, speak up now, whatever else. And I like it for that. I like it for all the different puns and stuff, and the way, like you said, the way Otto talks as Spidey. I like that, but I do say that issue 6, I did enjoy it more than issue 5.
Oh, yeah.
Any other final thoughts?
Sorry, you're going to want to pause it there. My phone just went off. I think we'll have to take a step back because it probably caught that on the mic.
No, it didn't. Just give your final thought.
Final thoughts. Well, one thing I want to mention is that where Spider-Man gets the shot in the nuts, and they do that kind of thing where his mask, like his lenses pop.
Yep.
Just to do, I love that because he gets it right there, and just the line of "a hit to the crotch." Really, it's the internet. No points for subtlety. and then they give him like the sticky paint balloons, and he gets it ripped off. And just you see the aftermath of what Otto did to the bullies, which is like, okay, dude, wreck the car, not the people. And Anna's all like, oh shit. And then all of a sudden, Otto does his best Wolverine, impression. And when you spoke about the art before, like that one shot where he's jumping down over top of them before he starts thrashing them with his spider claws. It looks very like alien. Like that is not the anatomy of a human being.
No,
it's very spider-like. Just claws and legs and all gangly, and he basically he wrecks the Jester.
Yeah,
and that's like I love the ending of this thing. Like Ghost Peter's like, what the fuck have you done?
Yeah,
and the Jester's all wrecked. Screwball's not much better. And it's setting up the next issue with where the Avengers are now going to step in and like, Spidey, gotta talk.
Yeah. So let's get to that after this.
I'm starting to think Jameson's wrong about you, Spidey.
Spread the word, Chief.
And finally, up today, we're going to be covering the Superior Spider-Man issue number 7. Warning, there could be spoilers here, because we are recording this. It won't be released until way after issue 7 has been
released,
but the podcast will have been released after that, but we are recording it one day after the issue hit stands.
Yeah.
The cover. The only thing I hate is Spidey looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle with that webbed foot.
No.
I don't
know. I don't understand your obsession with his feet, Mike, but
I don't have an obsession with his feet. It It looks weird to me. I've never seen Spider-Man have a webbed foot before. It looks weird to me. Other than that, I love the cover because it's basically, as you said, it's Avengers versus Spider-Man, and it's um, Cap, Wolverine, Thor, Widow, and the other chick,
Spider-Woman.
Spider. Oh wow, oh that's weird. But I like the cover. I think it's really interesting.
No, it's
Thoughts?
very. I guess you could almost say cinematic in a way. Like it's kind of reminiscent of like the Avengers poster where they're all gathered together and all that. I
Right,
mean,
right.
and this isn't the whole roster of the Avengers. It's just the characters that they happen to be there in Avengers Tower that day, where Cap's like, "Hey, Spider-Man's kind of being a dick,"
Yeah.
and Wolverine's, "Well, who hasn't been a dick?" I mean, that's basically what it boils down to. Wolverine's just kind of like, give him some slack. We'll see what happens. Let's not jump the gun here. Which
Yep.
leads into this issue. And again, I love the fact that with Slott writing this, he's going back to some of the stuff that he created in Amazing Spider-Man when they rebooted Spidey. And the idea that there was this guy named Martin Lee who was like this split personality supervillain called Mr. Negative. Just look him up on the wiki, people. It's a hell of a lot easier than me explaining it. And they bring back this character, named Cardiac, who's like this vigilante doctor who's like a cyborg, and he's got this beta reactor in his chest that gives him these superpowers, or this energy power that powers him and his weapon. And he's kind of like a superheroic version of Bruce Wayne's dad, in that he was like this rich doctor and he lost his wife and rededicated his life to healing people and stopping crime. And you see he's taken over one of Martin Lee's homeless shelters, and he's used it as like a secret hospital for not necessarily quasi-legal treatments, it's like a free clinic for absolutely everything.
Right.
And he's using possibly unpatented technology for skin grafts and people with massive brain damage and tumors and all that. And then this is all before the recap.
I know. That's what shocked me. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. It's like a real comic book. Joking. But yeah, no, you get the recap. It's like Spider-Man apprehended them brutally. Well, if by brutally you mean he chopped them into Swiss cheese. Because let's face it, there were a lot more holes in the Jester and Screwball than there were when they woke up that morning.
Yeah.
And then the Avengers, blah blah blah. We're gonna question his behavior and take him in.
Yeah.
And finally, at step 4, when you get into the actual story of step 4 and the whole Peter coming back, and you find out when Otto's asleep, Peter can control the body somewhat.
Yeah. Inefficiently, but yes.
And that, and the fact that for some reason he makes the comment, is like, oh great, so I can control my hand, but I can't access the speech center of my brain.
Yep.
And then
I love this. I want the spider app. I just love that. I love that image on the phone. I think that's awesome.
it does look cool. And I mean, the idea that, again, going back like we were talking about in the last couple of issues here, is how Otto is doing stuff that, like, it's not that Peter's an idiot or ignorant. It's just
it's just a different approach.
Well, yeah, but why? You're certainly smart enough to have thought of this. Why haven't you?
Yeah.
Peter. So it's just the way it is. And then he gets the alert, and I love the thing. It's like, one of Parker's, I mean, my foes, is on the loose again and up to no good. And then I love the splash page where it's, how did it's like, yeah, and what are a few hours of sleep compared to the awe-inspiring exploits of the superior Spider-Man?
Yeah.
And then Ghost Peter's like, you're such a dork.
Yeah, I love that page too.
Yeah. And it's just, I love that where Peter's just like, you're an idiot. It's like, a little self-promotion might have done wonders for your your ego there too, Peter. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But then he sees I love how they name everything, the raft, and then you got the boneyard, which is basically the storehouse for all the items seized from like superhuman related events and crimes, and Cardiac's there to build, steal something. And I knew it was going to be something involved with Dr. Octopus when he asked, where is the lot from the U.S. Atomic Research Center?
Right.
Because that's the place where Otto was working, way back in the day when the explosion happened, and he got his more quote unquote superpowers. And I love how Spidey, like Otto, just shows up. I'm Spider-Man. I'm an Avenger. I'm commandeering your services.
Yeah.
And the cops are all like, because Spidey's all hardcore. And at this point, I don't think we know whether the cops are agreeing to follow Spidey's lead because Mayor Jameson's his pal, and he's got this hardcore attitude, or they all saw what happened to Screwball and Chester.
Yeah.
So I think that he's like, get a perimeter, and then Peter's even like, me? I would have just rushed in there by now.
Right, yeah.
And then, he's attacking Cardiac, and I love the lines like, why do I feel like I'll stumble across the Ark of the Covenant before I find crate 113? And I love how Ramos kind of draws the warehouse does kind of look like the warehouse from Raiders, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a nice homage.
And then you see him, he's basically, Otto's like, okay, I'm giving you a count of 3 to give up before things get unpleasant.
What I don't like that, like, okay, we saw last issue in issue 6 where Peter got flung through Otto's memories of being bullied as a child.
Yeah.
I think it's been since issue 3, but we haven't seen Otto like with Massacre. Right, with Massacre and now with Cardiac. Why isn't Otto accessing Peter's memories to learn about like okay, I don't get me wrong, I love Otto's approach. I love how he's doing things differently. Granted, I don't agree with Spider-Man killing people, but it's one of those things where yes, Otto's being smart. Yes, Otto did all this stuff before he just ran into the warehouse. But why, when he's in the warehouse, does he not access Peter's memories to learn and figure out that, okay, Cardiac is doing something bad. He's breaking and entering and he's going to steal something, but he's probably doing it for a reason. He's not a Green Goblin. He's not a Hobgoblin. He's not a king. He's not a Kingpin.
Yeah.
As you said earlier, he's a vigilante doctor, but he's doing it for a good reason. He's not just doing it. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme for this guy.
Yeah.
So I don't understand, and I don't like the fact that they've stopped basically saying that Otto can access Peter's memories.
Well, he probably just decided not to. I mean, but the whole thing, like with where Peter previously interacted with Cardiac, at least what I read, I don't think he knows that he's like this doctor. He just knows him as this nutbar vigilante. So he's basically somewhere between, Spider-Man and the Punisher. Cardiac is in terms of his thing.
Right,
but no,
you'd
think
in,
that
in this issue, Peter says, "Stop, Doc. You don't know. You don't know his story. You don't know. And that's what I'm talking about. Maybe Peter knows something. Like maybe Peter as Peter. Think of
maybe Peter interacted with Cardiac in their civilian IDs. I don't know for sure if that has ever happened. So
right,
it's possible. And like I said, Otto's just. After the whole Screwball thing, maybe he's just kind of like, what, screw it, I'm going to do it this way. So, unless it's like something major, he may not look at Peter's memories, but the whole idea, like the very, they're fighting there, and he's giving them the 1, 2, 3, and you see another step forward in Peter resurfacing, where, he's screaming at Otto, is like, stop right there, and then Otto's like, who said that? Where are you?
Wait, you can hear me? Testing.
Staying on. Yeah, I was like, oh, wow, that's at a pretty crucial point in the fight because Cardiac grabs his staff and he's like, bazinga.
Yeah.
And then
I did like that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and then, the fight continues and he's flipping around and he's like, I forgot how annoying that spider sense of yours can be. And Otto's like, yeah, it's a constant source of irritation. And then
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
it's like, I'm an Avenger, I'm a hero, I'm a trusted agent of law and order. And then he gets smacked around, and Cardiac is like, thank you, I was looking for that. And he runs away, and
Yeah.
then he sees what Cardiac was stealing, and he just gets right pissed off. Like, again, how Roberto Ramos draws the lenses where he's like, my neurolytic scanner, one of my greatest inventions, and it looks like the eye holes are just narrowing. He's like, oh, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. The only problem is Spider-Man, no matter who's in the suit, no one can pull the eye hole narrowing as good as Batman in DCAU. No one
I'll give it up to the Dark Knight. I'm not saying that it's any better. It's just that's one of the things.
You're right. No, I know.
No, I get you. It's with Spidey artists. I love it when they play with the eye holes like that.
Yeah.
And then he's fighting, and again Peter kind of alters Otto's actions in ways like he's about to straight pulp Cardiac's head. Like, there's no other ways of saying it. If that punch connected, Cardiac would be a couple of pounds short of gray matter.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get to Stark Tower.
Yeah, Priority 1 alert, and they're all like, what's the emergency this time? And it's all like, this is an intervention. And Spider-Man's, explain. What's the meaning of this? And I love...
No, it was Wolverine. This ain't an emergency, bub. It's an intervention.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
God. I can okay. I've only seen Wolverine, because Superior Spider-Man's the only book I read in Marvel.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I've only seen Wolverine here. I can so hear Steve Bloom saying that line.
Yeah. And it's almost kind of funny hearing Wolverine saying it's an intervention, considering this guy can polish off like 3 kegs by himself.
I know.
He's Canadian, and we can drink a lot of beer. And I mean, one thing I want to notice about the art is how in a lot of the Avengers comics, and then you see in this issue how they're drawing Cap in more of a movie-ized costume. It's very similar to what Chris Evans wore in the movie of the Avengers.
Yeah.
So, and it's Cap's like, you explain to us what the hell's going on. You've beaten all these villains within an inch of their lives, and Massacre, dead by your hand, got the footage from the Boneyard, you're about to apply lethal force to him, and I love how Thor just kind of steps in, these are not the actions of my ally, the good man I know. And then Peter's like, testify, Thor, and I'm just like, oh, God. And then he's like, I don't have to stand here and take this, and Cap's like, God, actually you do. If you want to be on the team.
Hold on a second. I just... Sorry. Ever since I watched Superhero Squad show, I cannot take Thor seriously at all.
Yes, verily, 'tis hammer time.
Yeah. But continue.
But yeah, no, just the whole thing where you see Peter's like, yes, there's mightiest heroes for the win. Finally, someone's noticed. I thought you were all taking stupid pills.
Yeah.
And then he's trying to walk out, and they're like, you think we're just going to let you leave? And Cap's like, you're getting checked out, head to toe. And Peter's like, yes, game over. And he's like, again, he hears Peter, and it's like, I don't have time for this. And Cap's like, this isn't a request. And he actually lays hands on Captain America. And I love that whole, the bottom 4 panels where, Wolverine pops his claws, and it's you can hear the gun clicks and the clip. It's like an action movie where you hear the clicks of the guns and the clips of bullets getting put in and everything. And just that last image is like, oh, there's going to be a show.
Yeah, I am so stoked for issues 8 and 9 and whatever else happens, because I'm just going to read the last panel because, what I wouldn't give for some ghost popcorn right now. Whoever thou art, stand down or face the wrath of the mighty Avengers. What he said, but me, I'm hoping you put up a fight, because I'd just love to carve you a new one. Whoever thou art. Now...
Well, right there, because, I mean, they've been working at this point. Spider-Man has been an Avenger for at least 2 or 3 years. You know,
Right.
he's worked with them all. They all got to know Peter really well. I don't know since they've done, because he was Avenger before they did the whole Mephisto deal with the devil reboot.
Right.
I don't know if post that they know who he is, or just that
Right.
he's an Avenger. But yeah, I love that where Spider-Man's like, oh boy, this is gonna get good, and he's just the way Ramos draws Peter, you know, rubbing his hands together. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
it's a very super villain sort of thing, but you can see he's just like, this is gonna get good.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Out of all 4 of the issues that we've talked about today, I like this issue the best.
Oh yeah, this was
I think number 7 is like, I love number 1, 2, and 3. 4, 5, 4 and 5 are for me. They're whatever. 6 was good, but this was really good.
I wouldn't necessarily say this is the beginning of the end, but you know, 6 and 7 is definitely, you know, it's going to alter Spidey's stance in the superhero community of the Marvel Universe. And, you know, it looks like he's going to get the Das Boot from the Avengers. And I mean, not, you know, we'll certainly talk about these issues down the road, but like, I got the new previews catalog last week for the, you know, I ordered my comics from, like, what I don't have in my normal pull list. And there's the Marvel insert, and you see, you know, down the road, the way Otto's been acting and how he's been thrashing these supervillains within an inch of their lives is going to come back and haunt him. You know, it's going to bite him in the spider tuchus eventually. So, but yeah, I can't wait for the next issue because it's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be so good, so good. So we're going to take a quick break. You're going to hear some other commercials from our partners podcast here at GCRN and other stuff as well. We'll be back after this.
Coming to Grand Rapids, Michigan on September 21st and 22nd is GrandCon Gaming and Comics Convention, presented by Celebration Cinemas. Join us in playing or chatting it up with fellow enthusiasts in a community that understands your passions. Get lost in the adventure of your favorite role-playing game. Admire costumes and art from vendors and attendees. Meet the creators behind your favorite mainstream and independent games and comic books. Check out unpublished games and sneak peek at things to come. You can get all this and more at GrandCon. For more information, please visit www.grand-con.com.
So let's say you're looking for a podcast of your favorite 80s comic books, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Ninja Turtles, He-Man, etc. Where are you going to go to find us?
Welcome to Star Joe's Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan.
And I'm Chuck. That's right, everybody. We're the Star Joes. We host a podcast called Star Joe's Podcast, where we talk about your favorite comic books, your favorite toys of all the 80s properties.
Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Mask, Thundercats, Voltron, you name it, we cover it. If it's in the 80s, we'll cover it at some point.
Yes, so what you want to do to find us, you can go to iTunes, you can go to www.starjoes.com.
And remember, the Force will be with you.
Because knowing us is half the battle.
Hello, pop culture connoisseurs. Do you gain a dark sense of peace when the guilty are punished by a violent vigilante? If so, maybe you should get some therapy, and then subscribe to Punisher Body Count, the net's best podcast concerning all things Frank Castle. I'm Dane Lamont. My co-host Jake Williams and I cover the good, the bad, and the hilarious on the Punisher comics, movies, and news. Do you like chummy co-host banter? We got that. Oh, God, you need to get your fucking
No,
head
you need to
checked,
fucking
man.
pay attention to the fucking movie.
You want kick-ass guest interviews? How about Mike Barron and Tom Jane?
No, I like a little bit of grit in my cigar.
You want carefully considered in-depth analysis?
I mean, yeah, just won Best Picture at the Oscars yesterday. I mean, it's no Terminator. But it was still,
Good luck with that. Punisher Body Count, twice a month on Geekcast Radio.
So we are back. We haven't really... In the future, there will be a grading scale here on the pull bag We haven't really implemented it yet. We haven't really figured out what it's going to be yet. But in the future, we will do that. I will say, out of these 4 issues, number 7 is at the top of my list of being really, really good. I would put number 6 after that, and then number 5, and then number 6, Age of Ultron. The only reason why Age of Ultron comes last is because I'm not reading that whole storyline. It's kind of like, coming in the middle of a conversation like, what are you talking about? I don't like it. But what I do like about Age of Ultron is that cover is awesome.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a Dexter, so I did the cover and the interior art, and it's very... It definitely evokes more like stuff from manga than anything, like the kind of faux painted style and all that.
Yeah, but that cover, that digital cover where it's all computer stuff. And
it's brilliant. Like a very, one man against an evil empire sort of idea. I did dig that cover. I mean, excuse me. If I were to rate them like worst to best in the 4 issues here, the worst would be, the Massacre issue.
Issue 5.
Yeah, issue 5. And then, the Age of Ultron, which it's not a bad story. It's just I didn't like it as much as, the actual 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Because, it's like this build up to, Spider-Man becoming, Dark Spidey or whatever you want to call it. And then, number 7 obviously was my favorite, like I said, because the whole, it's Spider-Man versus the Avengers. It's the superior Spider-Man versus Earth's mightiest heroes. And, there's going to be a rumble.
Yes, there is. Now, do you want to give any predictions as to what else Slott and his team are going to be putting into this, like after, like issue 10? Like, do you think they would ever bring back the symbiote? Can you imagine an auto version of Venom? Like, I don't know.
Well, no, it's actually, like I said, I got the new previews, and looking at the Marvel has a whole separate little catalog of all the comics that come out, like that for that month that the catalog's for, and they're in there. There's a first issue of a miniseries called Superior Carnage.
Oh boy!
What happened with Carnage is over in the other 2 Spider-Man titles, there's Venom, where Flash Thompson is now in control of the Venom symbiote. And then post Spider Island, Kane, who's been healed and now he looks like Peter Parker without like the facial scars, is in Houston, Texas, being a superhero out there as the Scarlet Spider. They had this crossover where Carnage was trying to take over, and it gets to this point where, Carnage is about to like basically, come to and, start killing again. So Kane pops one of his spider pincers and basically severs his brainstem, so the body is alive, but Cletus Cassidy is, brain dead, and symbiote's in there. And in the promo paragraph for the Superior Carnage is he's in this, he's in a prison with supervillains, and there's all these crazy supervillains who are going to get together and do this very Frankenstein-esque experiment to heal the symbiote and get it active again for some reason. So, and I believe Slott, I don't have it with me right now, like that I can grab it and check, but I believe Slott's involved in that if he isn't outright writing it.
Yeah.
So they got that, and then, like I said, it's not spoilers, but I looked at like the preview issues for like I think it's 11 and 12 of Superior Spider-Man, and like I said, Otto's methods are going to come back and bite him in the ass.
All right, so that's going to do it for this episode of The Pull Bag. Where can people follow you, JT, and interact with you?
You can follow me on Twitter at JT from Saskatoon.
All right, keep reading those comics, and we will see you next time.
You just heard the latest episode of The Pull Bag, GCRN's comic book review podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you were leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. You can send us an email, feedback@geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter @GeekCastRadio. So until next time, unleash the geek in you.